Today we are discussing about stress management. This chapter written in my books Psychic Revolutions. Dr. Shyam will read from these chapters. Please.
Thank you, sir. Today's our topic is stress and its management. Whenever there is change in our environment, any change, physical or psychological, which we appraise as a damaging, harmful, some demand for any adjustment, then our body's response to the change is called stress. Stress can be both physical, mental, or cumulative. It's nothing external situation or event, but interpretation of the situation or event that occurs in the mind of an individual, which is responsible for distress, that is negative or unhealthy stress, or eustress, which is positive or healthy stress. Stress is useful for growth. Optimal stress is essential for life. Reaction of our body and mind to the demand, that is exam, which we are perceived as a moderate degree preparation. Ever successful handling of demand, known as eustress, adds to our resource and coping abilities. This is the process that is synonymously stress, called as anxiety, which is different, unusual, unpleasant, unrealistic, vague sense of oppression, often accompanied by autonomic symptoms such as headache, perspiration, palpitation, chest tightness, mild stomach discomfort, restlessness, tachycardia, increase in BP, feeling of muscle tension, widening of eyes, increased metabolic activities, sensory stimulation, etc. If such symptoms persist for long period of time, then person becomes irritable, aggressive, fatigued, and decreased work efficiency. Also decrease in concentration. He forgets things and also gets indulged in drug addiction like alcohol, smoking, brown sugar, etc. Also, sometimes there is sleep difficulty, patient gets depression, psychosomatic disorder like gastritis, peptic ulcer disease, obesity, bronchial asthma, hyperventilation syndrome, coronary artery disease, cardiac arrhythmia, syncope, rheumatoid arthritis, migraine, and back pain. The sensation of anxiety is commonly experienced by everyone. It is an alerting and alarming signal. It weighs off impending dangers and enables the person to take measures to deal with the threat. It is a life-saving quality. An internal state caused by physical demand or by environmental or social situation which are evaluated as potentially harmful, uncontrollable, or exceeding the indication. Hence, they are resources for coping the stress. Stress is a precursor to maladjustment, staying cool, keeping a lid on it. One way to describe stress, how people use their cognitive self-help abilities to manage their emotional response. The effect of extended stress on physical and psychological well-being can be serious, and person may develop severe psychosomatic disorders. What are stressors? So stressors are different as per different individual. The first step in learning to control our stress is to find out which one is the stressors. So some are the examples. Physical stressor like excessive heat, cold, noise, person, own illness, air pollution, light pollution. Family stress like sharing of workload, different values, different lifestyle, distribution of money, assets, illness, or death of any family members. Interpersonal stress, that is spoiled relationship with a family member, friend, neighbor, due to different values, expectation, obligation, communication, misunderstanding, jealousy, etc. Career and job related stressors like examination, interview, public speaking, training at workplace, delayedness in completion of tasks, poor communication, ill-defined role, competition, and power struggles. Social, economical, political, and environmental stressors like unemployment, less income, demand, high cost of living, technological changes, pollution, poor service, poverty, corruption, criminality, terrorism, inflation, etc. Another is personality type A. Type A person are more vulnerable to stress. Modern lifestyle, accidents, marriage, birth, death, divorce, retirement, pregnancy, vacation, natural calamities like earthquake, food, flood, cyclone, Occupational stress like industrialization, urbanization, and life events. There is social readjustment scale measuring the stress of life event from 0 to 100 scale. Self-rating stress scale. Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe in 1967 studied whether or not stress contributes to illness. They surveyed more than 5,000 medical patients and asked them to recall whether they had experienced any type of series of 43 life events, which is mentioned in this scale. Each event is called a life change unit. Now we are discussing about stress scale. We will discuss it with life event and values. So, a life event like death of spouse, value 100, divorce 73, marital separation 65, jail term 63, death of any family member 63, personal injury or illness 53, marriage 50, fired at work 47, reconciliation 45, retirement 45, change in health of family member 44, pregnancy 40, sex difficulties 39, gain of new family member 39, business readjustment 39, change in financial state 38, death of a close friend 37, change to different line of work 36, change in number of argument with spouse 35, a large mortgage or a loan 31, foreclosure of mortgage or a loan 30, change in responsibilities at work 29, son or daughter leaving home 29, trouble within laws 29, outstanding personal achievement 28, spouse begin to stop work 26, beginning or end of school or any college 26, change in living condition 25, division of personal habits 24, trouble with boss 23, change in work hours or condition 20, change in residence 20, change in school 20, change in recreation 19, change in church activities 19, change in social activities 18, a moderate loan or a mortgage 17, a change in sleep habit 16, a change in number of family get together 15, change in eating habits 15, vacation 13, Christmas 12, and at last minor violation of laws 11. Hence, on this basis, you can score your total. If you experience the same event more than once, add the score again for each extra occurrence of the event. Now score interpretation. If score is more than 300 or more than that, a high or very high risk of becoming ill in the near future. If the score is somewhere between 150 to 299, there is a moderate risk of becoming ill. And if score is less than 150, then there is a low to moderate chance of becoming ill in the near future. Now stress management. Be aware if your stressors, stress reaction, immediately use simple breath watching exercise, analyze and deal with the actual stressors by action, withdrawing or compromising through adjustment in your beliefs and attitudes. Fight stressful situation or flight or wait for result only. Number 1. Regular practice of breath watching exercise, progressive muscle relaxation technique, mental exercise, organize your work and time, take optimum amount of appropriate healthy diet and regular physical exercise along with rest. Key to all problems and solutions. Knowing themselves is also a big solution. Develop mastery in the usual of several ways on increasing your stress tolerance like yoga, meditation, self-hypnosis and biofeedback-like systems. Self-remedies like morning or evening walk, riding bike, gardening, sports, letter writing, shopping, music, prayer, honorary service, reading magazine, self-help books, playing with children, visiting museum, art gallery, massage, facial, steam bath, sightseeing, getting in touch with friends and relatives. Visit doctor if continuous stress or depression persists. 3 factors. The achievement of any goal depends upon effort, patience and prayer for God's blessing. Stress management techniques. There are several techniques like cognitive restructuring, relaxation, biofeedback and coping skills. Number 1. Cognitive restructuring. It includes stress inoculation. Stress inoculation. Develop tolerance through exposing patient to a graded experience of stress. Number 1. Teach that self-evaluation and rumination over decision increasing stress. Teach to monitor self-defeating cognitions. Teach new cognitive strategies. Teach relaxation and better communication. Provide real-life homework and assignments that become increasingly difficult to carry out. There are stress inoculation for phobia, chronic patient, test, anxiety, and alcoholism. Need, failure leads to aggression, and aggression leads to stress. Hence, stress management. Maladjustment is not a direct consequence of stress. A person may encounter many stressful forces without developing maladaptive behavior. Maladjustment seems like when people under stress, reactive point of exhaustion. A person troubled by stressful stimulation can help untangle his or her feelings, understand the source of stress, and do something about it through therapy. Some people resolve their problem and reduce stress. Those who fail to manage stress display maladaptive behavior, ideas, and feelings. Second, relaxation. Relaxation includes hypnosis, altered state of consciousness brought about by trance-induction procedure. Therapist uses hypnosis to help patient to relax. Second, meditation. It is a technique for achieving feeling of detachment from the world through intense concentration, restriction of incoming stimuli, and deep relaxation. It has been reported that meditation reduces tension, headache, backaches, reduces need for sleep, and increase self-awareness and feeling of inner peace. They also assert that meditation reduces anxiety. Systemic desensitization. Based on behavioral principles of counter reconditioning, which states that a person can overcome maladaptive anxiety elicited by a situation or object by approaching the feared situation gradually and in a psychological state that inhibits anxiety. At the first, person is taken in relaxed state. Hierarchy is constructed to less anxiety provoking situation to maximum anxiety provoking situation into a graded manner. So we will understand with the example. For example, snake phobia, see the string-like snake rushing towards to you and even touch, bite the person which give maximum anxiety and then realize, patient, that there is no any snake, it is only the fear. Now, biofeedback. The general technique by which individual can monitor and learn to control the involuntary activity of certain organs and bodily function. Biofeedback is a special type of feedback that refers to information provided externally to a person about normally sub-threshold biological or physiological process. Neil Miller, he demonstrated medical potential of biofeedback by showing that normal involuntary autonomic nervous system could be apparently conditioned using appropriate feedback. By means of instrument, patient is given information about status of certain involuntary biological function such as skin temperature, electrical conductivity, muscle tension, blood pressure, heart rate, and brain wave activity. Patient is then taught by regulate one or more of these biological states with the following symptoms. Coping strategies of biological level. A. Coping strategies should begin at biological level. Response to stress. People's bodies respond to stress with specific reactions including changes in hormone level, autonomic nervous system changes, amount of neurotransmitter in brain. Physical illness may result in response stabilized at sustained high levels. Because high chances of physiological response can be maintained for a long period. Bleeding ulcers are one type of stress-induced ailment. Such ulcers become worse without relief from stress. Defense-oriented coping strategies. Defense mechanisms are specific cognitive process way of thinking that the mind employs to avoid painful feelings. It was given by Freud in 1996. It is unconscious way to get rid of anxious stimuli. It can be external or internal stimuli. It is ego-protective mechanism working as safety valve of pressure cooker. According to psychosexual development, Freud had collected defense mechanism to each stage as following. 1. Anal phase, undoing, reaction forming, isolation, or regression. Oral phase, projection, displacement, incorporation, reversal or denial. Phallic phase, intellectualization, repression, symbolization. And latency phase, that is sublimation. Defense-oriented coping strategies do not reduce stress, but instead help people protect themselves from its effects. In view of psychologist Richard Lasson's, people faced with constant stress tend to become either defensive or task-oriented. Defense-oriented coping strategies can ease distress and permit people to tolerate disturbances and deal with them. Freud and other personality therapists describe various defense mechanisms. By this defense mechanism, people distort reality in order to defend themselves against the pressure in the environment. Example, in rationalization, a person reinterprets reality to make it palatable. In reaction formation, a man who expresses glee on accepting new job, but who is feeling a lot of stress and fear, develops reaction formation. He is chosen by express a feeling opposite to one he truly feels. Now, response to stress. It is of different level. First level defense. It is conscious effort to manipulate environment through removing oneself, bodily satisfaction, orally, sexually extroversion, fantasies. Suppression, rationalization, philosophy, self-control, emotional outburst, impulsive behavior, use of drug, like normal response to anxiety, tension, and adjustment. Second level of defense, that is characterology, personality related, IPR, dependency, submissive, masochism, dominating, aggression, that is sadism, detachment, strives of self-imaging, narcissist, grandiosity, perfectionism, compulsive, ambition, exaggeration, personality disorder. Third level of defense, that is repressive manipulation of intrapsychic process, reaction formation, oppose repudiative drives, inhibition, attention and caretaking, memory, emotional indifference, sensory disorder, motor paralysis, visceral inhibition, impotency, frigidity, displacement, undoing, isolation. Fourth level of defense, that is helpless dependency, renounce response, withdraw from reality, internalize hostility and suicide, acting out, open expression. Task-oriented coping strategies, that is most psychologists, especially behavioral psychologists, recommend this strategy. Strategy in the task-oriented coping strategies are identify the source of stress, choosing an appropriate course of action for stress reduction, implementing the plan and evaluating its success. Which problem to work on first must be decided in this strategy. Once problem is defined, people can choose from several strategies. Relaxation technique is useful in reducing arousal and excitement which are accompanied by stress. People can be taught to reform their energies by using biofeedback, meditation, other therapeutic relaxation techniques such as systemic desensitization. Now cognitive coping strategies. These are useful by many people to manage stress. Either professionals or clients can conduct training sessions or stress inoculation in preparation for stress through gradual exposure to increasing the high stress levels. Studies suggest that people can learn to manage their stress to some extent by using their thought process. Major goal is to prepare people to react in constructive ways to early morning signs of stress. Self-talk procedure, positive thinking. Research has shown that people can cope more effectively by talking to themselves. Example, the sun will come out tomorrow. By talking to themselves, people can control over their emotion, arousal, stress reaction. Self-talk procedure has been in people confront stressor and cope with pain and feeling of being overwhelmed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shyam.